Hello everyone. This week I would like to give some tips on how to plan, particularly for young learners. In this case, I will be planning my lesson or part of my lesson so you get the idea for kindergarten. So of course, it doesn't matter what format are you using. What matters is that you have the main components that a good lesson plan should have. And of course, you will have the name of your institution if you're planning with a peer or a colleague. And then one of the things that I do is that I write the week and I save the file with the week also. So I can use it for future reference. In this case, I'm using week 6 and I'm editing uh, to, to rewrite week 7, that is this week. I know that you may be at different points in your planning, but hopefully the tips that I will use, especially with the new features that Word has to offer, you can plan whatever lesson with the ideas that I'm presenting. One suggestion that seems that we have lost some way along the way, and that I consider it's crucial to have a the big picture of our whole year when we are teaching elementary. And it's called scope and sequence, or what we call in Spanish dosificación. One of the things that I do every year is to check the weeks and how many are they, and to design or decide on a title for each of the trimesters to have an idea of a general theme that I'm going to follow along. And even if I'm not using the CBE planning format, I still consider it's important to have the competencies in mind. What I did, particularly during the pandemic, was to organize my planning in such a way that I could have a relationship between what the homeroom teacher or the kindergarten teacher was teaching. This is in Spanish because that's come from their program. And then this is what we used to teach with the on our way to English book, and these are the units. And this is the program from Meduca. Probably you already know, if you're teaching kindergarteners, that we don't have curriculum priorizado for that level. So what I did was to have a mixture between what I liked about the On Our Way to English book and the program from Meduca. Because if you're teaching more than the 5 hours or 3 hours, and you are working in a school that is considered bilingual, you perhaps are teaching 10 hours or around those figures. So, of course, my organization doesn't have to be your organization. You can organize the topics as you deem appropriate for your context and your students' needs. What I do is that I generally start something similar uh, with with general knowledge, greetings, and things like that. And of course, every now and then I include things that connect to what they are learning with their kindergarten teacher, but after they have mastered that content with them, not simultaneously, because it doesn't work really efficiently that way. So this is a scope and sequence. I will be sharing in the description below a link for you to download if you want to use it. And let me close this presentation. So I still on the at school theme. Uh, Yesterday I was focusing on some classroom commands, and of course this week at my school we are celebrating our anniversary, so I'm going to use part of the theme at school to connect to our celebration. And this week also we are celebrating Earth Day. So it's like many things at the same time, but I think that you decide on activities that can connect to the celebrations. And the funny thing, or there's another celebration that probably you did today if your school had classes today, is celebrating Easter. So I'm going to to do an activity with some eggs where they practice the vocabulary that we have been learning about the weather using the eggs. That's what I will do. So of course, when you are organizing the topics, of course, here you have the theme and maybe probably many things at once, right? Uh, but here I have uh, the prior vocabulary that we have seen during this previous week. And this week I'm not going to focus only on grammar. This we are going to see and review the commands, and I'm going to introduce the school. I will say places at school. More than it would be a connection between places and things at school. So we will, let's see how it goes. It doesn't mean that it has to be perfect. What I have noticed, particularly with this 2022 group, is that this is the first time that they are going to school because of the pandemic. They were taking classes virtually. So it's like working with preschool rather than kindergarten. Of course, and there have to be some adaptation to that. And keeping that in mind, that we are probably dealing with or requiring skills that they don't have yet, and we have to be understanding and adapt to what is going on. So places and things at school. So this is like a huge topic, and it may take for me, besides the command, probably will take 2.5 weeks because I will be dealing with places and things not simultaneously, but kind of starting with one topic and moving towards the next. So perhaps that's one of the things that we are going to see. And just as an example, you can be more specific and write down the, the places like principal's office, restrooms, boys' restroom, girls' restroom, for example, library, if you have one, computer lab, dining hall, and etc. Right? And then you may decide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a good number. It doesn't have to be like a long vocabulary, and it depends on your students actually. And you may decide on things like book, notebook, pencil, and crayon to start. What I'm just let me repeat that this is not something that I will cover in 1 week, but I have to have the whole picture. What I'm going to use, of course, sometimes I play bingo. This time I'm not sure that I will be playing bingo, but I will be using egg review with the Easter eggs. I will use some worksheets. What I'm doing is that I'm working with clay, just like the homeroom teacher. I can ask my students to do something with the clay that is related to the vocabulary. I have some anchor charts, pointers, some video. I use my tablet and speakers, children's books, and of course their notebook. And I am using some material from a book, and that will be higher order questions. Why is it important that our students reflect on their own learning even if they are small? It's that why knowing about our school, why knowing about our school and what we do here is important. I always use like, what is it important? It's a little bit easy to ask them to reflect on that. But there are so many things that I want to do, and probably as we are connecting this week with Earth Day, why taking care of the Earth is important. You can ask that question at any point during the week, particularly on the 22nd, and if you're not teaching one group, on the 22nd, on the 21st. Of course, you may opt out of not using higher order questions. I like to use them. Another thing that I like to use are stories of the week. So I'm still haven't decided on what stories to use just yet, but I will be sharing at the end. This first part of this lesson tutorial will last 15 minutes. That is the allotted time that I have for in the free version from Screencast-O-Matic. So just bear with me for the second part. So day one. If you are teaching your students every single day, that's perfect. You can have a vertical option rather than a horizontal one. In our case, as this week is not going to be a complete week, I'm dividing the week into the days that I will be teaching, and I will be working with 3 right now. So day 1 would be tomorrow for me, and I have language objective and content objective, right? If you just want to work with the outcome, like learning outcome, instead of using the SIOP way of writing objectives, you can do so. And I will be also sharing some information that I have downloaded some years before, where you have access to certain verbs, and you have content objective verbs, which actually you're using Bloom's taxonomy. And here is the famous wheel where you have the objectives, and you have the where to do the products or the activities that you can do. These are the verbs, activities, and products. But I also, in case you are still using the SIOP just like me, here are some language objective verbs that you can use as a reference, and here are also organized by skill. So of course, have a list at hand. Sometimes we overuse the verb identify. Of course, if you are teaching younger learners, identify probably can be one of the verbs that you will be using because that's what they can do. However, try to find some other verbs that replace, because this is remember, right? And then you have identify, they can match, they can listen and color, you can observe. So there are many things that you can use besides identify. So this is another document that I will be sharing with you in the links below in the description. So this is just the introduction to the lesson planning. See you in part 2.